Yo, 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 what's happening? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is your hostess with the mostest. It is PKR, Pastor Keenan Riley. And we are here on People Suck, Love Them Anyways. And as always, I am joined by my sidekick, newly employed Nicky Nick, with
Newly
his,
employed. I mean, I wasn't
yeah,
unemployed this time.
but you're newly employed because you
Yeah.
have a different job.
I mean, yeah,
So
that's true.
let me tell you something. If Nick switched up his wives like he did his job and his cars and things like that, bro, you would make Mormons get jealous.
I
I
probably
feel
would.
like,
You
you
know?
know.
I mean, I've been told if I switch cars one more time, I will have to switch wives.
let's
So we'll see how that goes.
just
But
say, let's just say, not everything is, not everything is meant to stay together. You know what I'm
right.
saying? I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm just saying, a new car might be worth a new wife. I don't
it might
know.
be. Once my credit gets back up, we'll be good to go. You know.
What is your credit looking like right now?
It's not too horrible. It's really
Okay,
not.
all
Yeah,
right.
it's not. It's
Yeah.
not too bad.
All right,
I've
man. Well,
been thankful. The only reason I can switch cars so much is because of my credit.
Credit
Is
credit.
good, so.
He's like, you know what? I do pay on them every month,
Yeah,
so
I do
that's a
take care of
plus.
the bills.
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
do that.
exactly. So, but yeah, man. So, hey, good news. The government might be close to getting back open again.
Hey, I heard we're getting $2,000 checks. That's all I'm excited about. So,
listen, they say that, man, but I have come to learn that I'm going to hold my breath. No, I'm not going to hold my breath because I know that until I see it in my bank account, like wake up in the morning and it's like, hey, it's there, fresh, bam, bam, bam. Now here's the deal with that. It said, now I've heard and seen stories throughout the day that it's like $2,000 per person. Here's the thing with that. Does that mean, like, is it $2,000? Say, like, for a family of four, are you getting $8,000, or is it like just the adults? Yeah, is it just the adults?
I've seen families and I've seen everybody.
Right.
And
Well,
so I'm like, I don't know
yeah.
if that means one per family, one per everybody.
Most of the verbiage I've seen is $2,000 per person is what I've seen, and it is. But then I've seen
So
it
it was for families who make less
than $100,000 a year. Exactly. So I guess my thing would be: is it $2,000 per person in the family if your family makes
listen,
less
Donnie,
than 100,000?
Donnie, I will take 2,000 if I can just get 2,000, I'll take 2,000. I'm not
going to be the greatest president
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to do.
Exactly.
You need to send everybody $2,000.
$2,000.
Yeah, the beautiful, beautiful $2,000. Yeah, you could. You know, I mean. I'm not going to hold my breath because there's been so much stuff that's been thrown around, man. And I know a lot of it depends on the tariffs and things like that. And of course, there's that fight in the Supreme Court right now going on with that whole situation. And we don't know if those are going to stand. We don't know if you're going to have to take tariffs off. To hear Donnie talk about it, he's like, if we take these tariffs off, national security is at stake, and we lose money, and blah blah blah. And it's like, so I don't know, man. What an interesting time to be alive.
He was calling the Commanders game the other day.
I know, yeah. So yeah,
he's been fighting to change the name back to Redskins for forever, and it's like he had the perfect opportunity to get up there and just
make a whole pitch. Yeah,
they're doing great,
and just make a whole pitch about it. So I didn't watch that game.
You want to call this play again? Whoa! I was like, God bless America right there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tackle. Very beautiful tackle. So yeah, but yeah, what an interesting time to be alive, man. A lot of things happening, a lot of stuff going on. I know we kind of covered a little bit of it last week, man. But here's something that's kind of been crazy to me that has kind of been in the news, out of the news, back in the news again. 3i Atlas. You know what that is? You don't have a clue?
No.
Man, so 3i Atlas has been this quote unquote comet. We'll call it a comet. That started out.
Halley's Comet.
And then from this comet, there's stuff starting to happen. Like it's losing water. There's lights coming from it. There's stuff happening around it. It circled the sun and came back, and it's. There's been a little bit of everything tossed out there because the scientists can't explain it. Some people are like, it's alien activity. So you got all of that stuff going on out in the atmosphere. We're in, again, Kentucky in the United States. So what was really, 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 really noticeable and viewable last night? Guess what? The Northern Lights.
I was too busy watching the Louisville game.
Well, I just didn't go outside.
Yeah,
I didn't go outside. So, but they were beautiful. I've seen the pictures and stuff. Some wonderful, wonderful scenes. Now, with that, I don't know if you've been reading up on this, but there is a quote unquote energetic charge that's going on. Yeah, yeah, or an energy charge, whatever you want to call it. I mean, but there's some kind of deal going on with that where basically it's like that's the reason why you can see the northern lights so far south for, and because of this charge that's going on, it's like it's like it's causing animals to go crazy. It's causing like just some different things, man, happening, and it's like, what else could go? What else? I mean, like what else we got going on? Like
I've always heard it's a dangerous question to ask.
Right.
Like, what else you got?
We have, on a serious note, there's some Christians, or a lot of Christians are being persecuted in Nigeria. Am I right with that?
I don't know. I haven't seen
okay, so Nick is not up to date on anything because he's been applying for new jobs.
Yeah, I've not been on the news.
On the news. Christians are being persecuted in Nigeria, I believe, and so there's been some talk about boots on the ground and like going over there and kind of like throwing some weight around, like, hey, get your stuff together, stop killing Christians.
Protected the Jews.
I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure who we're protecting. I'm really not for sure. So I mean, like, it's just, man, mind blowing. As far as, like I said, just stuff that keeps on coming out, like stuff that's happening on the daily. We're only 40 some odd days away from Christmas. Time goes crazy fast. We had our first snow of the year. Monday?
Yeah,
it was Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Had our first snow right here in Kentucky
Not
on
really
Monday. No, it wasn't, man. Though. But we had a bunch of snow squalls that went through the day, and it's like, so it was almost like a whiteout. Sometimes you look outside and you couldn't even see in front of you, but it really didn't accumulate to anything. And I was telling somebody at work, I said, I feel like if it snows before Thanksgiving, that Thanksgiving just automatically gets looked over, and like people start thinking about Christmas
tree up at school today. What the heck?
Yeah.
I was like, hey, what we're doing?
But
Veterans Day just happened.
I know we got a lot of Christmas freaks out there, though, man.
I saw this video. I didn't see this video, so I was listening to John Chris podcast on the way here, as I usually do on Wednesdays, and there was this video that he played of this guy, in like the clip that he showed. He's like, so. I just want to come out and say that the earlier you put up your Christmas decorations, the more mentally unstable you are. And I was like, I've never agreed with something. I think more of my life.
Yeah, that. Well, I mean, it's it's like you try to get. I don't know if you're trying to get into the mood or into the mindset or but whenever I feel like we do it so early, it's like we're just wishing time away, or is it like what makes that season so good that we want to like share it. Just not just December. Now we're backing it up into the first day of November. Like, what makes it so good that we want to stay in that season? And if you're going to say, "Oh, it's Jesus," like, shut up. No,
it's not.
like it's
100%
consumerism, right?
Cookies,
and I mean, I'm not saying that the overall spirit isn't good. I'm not saying that, but I'm like, if it was about Jesus, like we would be in the middle of our living rooms every night with our Bibles open. November 1st, trying to worship and trying to do good, So, it makes me wonder sometimes, like, what is it? Is it just the season of giving, or is it the season of seeing everybody? And I know we've talked and kind of dove into both sides of it, where we go like, hey, like Christmas is a great time, but there's also another side. And it's also sometimes the most depressing time for some people. It's also the most chaotic. It's also the most, I don't know what you like. There's a weight, there's a burden because maybe you're a single mom, you're a single dad, and you're trying to provide for your family for Christmas. And, I think we've talked about before about how that comparison into other families, and you just feel like you're an awful parent because you can't give your kids, this other stuff. And we've even talked about that, about posting on Facebook, it's like, or social media. It's like, you'll have kids like out there with videos of riding around a dirt bike out in the field, and it's like, and little Susie got a rag doll or somewhere,
and I'm glad you say that, because I mean, I was sitting there thinking, I've been posting a little bit less, I posted I got a new job, but I was contemplating not posting that.
I'm telling you, man.
And I was like, it's one of those things that I've been thinking about more and more. It's just kind of like, why? And we talked a lot about that on the podcast.
Why do you post?
Yeah, like why post?
What's the meaning behind it?
Am I just showing off what I went into debt for Christmas? Like, hey, look, I bought my kids this.
Yeah.
Or hey, look, is it a I'm a good dad. Look at what I did for my kids. Look at what I did for my family type thing.
Yeah.
Do I want that people to be like,
Well,
heart reaction?
But why do you have to prove to other people that you're a good dad?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, or you're a good parent.
That's what I'm saying. Like I contemplating this year, because I usually do post something on Christmas, like, hey, look at us, we had a good Christmas.
Oh yeah,
because everybody does. Like first day of school, everybody posts their kids' first day of school crap, but it's just kind of like, yeah, you did not. You don't post anything though, unless it's church related. We've talked about this too. But I mean, again, I just think, it's that question of, why anymore. I think, it's one thing this year, and I think you touched on this. Maybe it was a Sunday or a Wednesday night ago. But where it's just kind of like, the more you put out there, the more ammunition you give people.
Last Wednesday.
Yeah, I think
it was last Wednesday.
It was last Wednesday. It was like the loudest this church has gotten in. So yeah, 6 months.
That's just because Mundo was here.
Yeah. But it's just kind of that mentality of you put so much out there, and I think police departments touch on this a lot when it is school time, right? When you were posting the picture of your kid and you're posting what school they're going to, what grade they're in, what their likes are, what their dislikes are, the dangers of doing that. And we don't think about that year round, of like, if I put out there that I'm struggling with this, now I'm telling everybody, I'm putting a vulnerable moment of my life out there on display for everybody to see.
Right.
I'm telling everybody out there like what I'm dealing with, what I'm struggling with. And we talked about that because there has to be a line there, because we want to be vulnerable.
Right.
We want to be honest. We want to be open. We want to be authentic.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, are you doing it to the right people? If you're just putting your business out there on Facebook, there's people on Facebook that you wouldn't trust to, sell you a candy bar.
Right.
But I mean, it's like, but hey, I will tell them everything I got for Christmas, hoping they won't break into my house and take it. Like, hey, and so we don't think about that kind of stuff because we're so caught up in the festivity of it, I mean, I get, because if I take pictures on my phone, I have that, right? I don't have to post it on Facebook to keep that.
Yeah.
I can just keep that to look back on when I want to.
Or just be present in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the big thing to me, is that like I've really done a better job of this, like especially on vacation and stuff, of not like, oh, hey, let's get together and take a picture, like, or hey, like, let's get a picture here and let's do this and let's do that type situation. But it's like, just put the phone down and let's be in the moment and enjoy that.
While we're on vacation, I was just sitting there thinking, there was times that I had my phone out taking pictures. Granted, it is my kid's first time on the beach.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to document that. I wanted to document that.
According to Nick.
He hated it.
Yeah.
My daughter loved it.
Yeah.
But, again, just I wanted to document that. But there were times as I was doing that I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, put your phone down.
Right.
Like, you'll have memories.
Yeah.
Like, you'll have the memory of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've taken a couple pictures. That's all you need.
Right.
Like, sit there and play in the sand, or
yeah.
Get out there with your daughter.
Right,
it's like those moments hit me, and I was like, but it kind of just builds on this conversation we're having of being present, and instead of posting about your presence, being present.
Right. Well, that's just, I mean, and we hit a lot on like the prayer request thing, and it's like we're so quick to get on social media and be like, I need prayers. Yeah. Or I need prayers, for a certain situation. And it's like, when you put that out in the atmosphere that you need prayers, then, I've said this before, like, everybody that is for you is not with you, and everybody that is with you is not for you. So you have to look at it and be like, I'm putting this out in the atmosphere. So two things are going to happen. There are going to be people who are going to respond and pray. They are. But there's also going to be people that respond and pray. Now I know you're going to be like, well, you said that. No, there's people that's going to pray.
Hopefully the transcript gets this right.
Yeah, right. and then there's going to be people that prey. And whenever you pray, you say, I need you. There's going to be people that's got your back and they're going to pray for you. But there's also going to be people that want to see you fail. And so they are, and it's not going to be prayer. Like, they're not going to be like, Lord, I pray for you to fail, like, help them fail or whatever. They're going to start trying to implement ways, things, through gossip or whatever the case is, like, for you to fail. Like, like they're going to be going, oh, well, like, I told you they was going, like, yeah, did you see that, man? They're hurting right now. They're going through something. Like, I told you, like, they deserve it. Like, hey, can you find out what's going on? And going back to the posting thing, like what we were talking about, whenever you get that ammunition out there, whenever you let people have access to your life and you give them that ammunition, it's like, it's you're giving them just a wide open door to walk into and mess your life up. And for the life of me, I don't and I don't understand why I done it for so long. Like I really don't. Like I don't understand why I thought that taking pictures and posting and giving like a chronological order of events in my life on a daily basis. Yeah. Yeah. Like I never understood why, and I still don't, like why I thought it was so important, like to put out there, like for people, for what? Like for people to, like you said, to heart or to like or to comment on or to give you validation or
a little dopamine.
Yeah, exactly. Like I never understood it, but now that I'm like, I draw back and I'm like, I post one time a day, like Nick said, it's usually church related most of the time or Jesus related. Every now and again, I might post a picture, maybe, like every now and again. But like outside of that,
that awkward teenage mirror picture that you put on there the other day.
What was it? Teenage mirror picture?
Yeah, like where you were like black and white. And you
just took a picture in the mirror. That was like 6 months ago, man. That was a profile picture. Okay, exactly. Like like I'm talking like just.
And I'll still judge you for it.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, you judge anyways. But like just to, like whenever you give people insights into your life, man, you're just setting yourself up for drama. You're setting yourself up for judgment. You're setting yourself up. You're giving people ammunition, man, because people are looking for a way to tear you apart. People are looking for a way to literally.
Now more than ever.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again, man. And a lot. I mean, I've been through the fire. I mean, like a lot of people have. But like we live in a day and a time of character assassination, like where anybody can say anything and it takes legs and goes. Like it's like fire that spreads, and and it's like it's so quick because everybody's so connected through social media and through phones and whatever else that it's like something can spread so quick about a place. This is a cool topic to talk about really quick, but. If you've seen the TikTok trend lately, this chick, smart move, set up about 30 different churches where she was calling them and asking them for baby formula. And out of the 30 churches that she called, like through Tennessee, Kentucky, I think some was in Virginia, maybe, I don't know. But like 3 churches out of 30 like actually offered to help. And the other 27 was either like, we don't have nothing, we can't get nothing. Our food supply bank is only for our members, like, whatever the case is. Wild. Yeah. One of the guys that said yes was actually like, I don't know him personally, but I know his son-in-law, know some of the family, things like that. Good guy, Church of God guy up in Somerset. And I mean, he, like, bless his heart, if you go listen to the conversation, I mean, he's like down to the T. He's like, honey, I don't. He said, I'm a great grandfather. He's like, so I haven't bought this stuff in a minute. He's like, what kind is it, and does it need flavor? And like, I mean, like you could just tell like his heart was in the right place. And here's the crazy part about that is that because this happened, I read a story that atheists are donating to his church. Oh, wow. Like literally saying, hey, look, like we don't necessarily believe in God, but we believe in good people, and you, sir, are a good person, and so but here's the deal with that. Like you have ammunition over here for these other churches, and not saying again, I'm not defending them at all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I'm not defending them, but what I am saying is that there's ammunition out there now, not for those churches, but there's ammunition for people who are sitting here struggling on the fence, thinking to themselves, I might go to church. I might believe in Jesus. I might want to give my heart and life over. And now there's ammunition for them to say, I told you all the churches out there, like 97% of them are horrible, type situation. And it's like, if we go around doing that kind of stuff, revealing that kind of stuff, then I'm not defending it. I'm not saying that they don't need to be called out. But what I am saying is that you're putting ammunition in people's minds and giving them excuses as to why not to come to church or why not to give Jesus a chance.
Yeah, and it's tough too, because you call 30 and the other 27, 26, something like that. I mean, they may not be bad people,
right?
They may not be bad churches. They may give to people all the time,
right? Exactly, right, right.
They just may not have been able to help in that exact moment, in that exact situation. Right, but again, this stuff spreads, and so that church is going to get hateful emails and text messages and social media call outs and all of these sorts of things.
Yeah, man.
And it really is important, I think, too, sometimes to I think as the Bible kind of says, to always be ready.
Yeah.
to always be ready, because
Right.
you may have a moment, you may be called upon at any moment. You may have to know the right thing to say, the right thing to do in any moment.
Well, that's where you got to be ready to preach, to teach the
Hmm.
word. It says in season and out of season. I mean, so you have to be, like you said, you have to be on guard at all times to be like, But I'll be honest with you, like even that story I was telling the joke before we started. Whenever I came in tonight to church, there was a car that was broke down with the flashers on, and I said, even that, like it made me more aware. You know what I mean? Like there might have been a time where maybe I was having a bad day or whatever, and like I'm just gonna walk in, not really say anything, whatever. But like, like tonight, it made me more aware to be like, you know what, like, hey, I walk past, hey, you good? Like, you all right? You need anything? It's like I can't give you a lot, but may give a ride, may give you a coat. What do you need? Type situation. So I think it makes us step back and be more aware. But like you said, we have to be ready at all times.
Absolutely, because you never know. And it's and I just had like a small situation as I was leaving my last job this weekend. As I was talking to one of my employees at that job, it was, we were about to clock out, about to leave. This is my last day. She stopped and she's like, I just want to say, and I said, this really touched me, because I mean, this is what I hope for,
Yeah.
when I come across people. But she was like, I just want to say that I really appreciate that. You're basically the only religious church going person I know that has not been mean and hateful to me in
Yeah.
my life. And she's a little bit younger than I am. And she's like, my grandma was very religious, but she used to, yell and scream at me. And, I'm not gonna say exactly what she said, but, she,
It
it just,
wasn't good.
yeah, it wasn't good. But, she used to say some very hateful, horrible things to me about, and use God as a weapon, basically, to say that I got to do this to get this out of you, all this, stuff. And, and it really did kind of touch me. And I told her, I said, I'm not perfect by any means. I said, but I hope to live my life in a way that people look at me and see Jesus. They see His love, grace, mercy, kindness, forgiveness, all that stuff. I was like, because people suck. I mean, this what this whole podcast is built on. People suck. I know we had a lady came to our church the other day who said that people in this community have been nothing but hateful to her.
Right.
In the religious section, and so we want to make sure that we are living our lives in a way that people look to us and they see something different. They see something positive. They see encouragement. They see joy. They see peace in the face of madness and chaos and confusion. Another guy I worked with at one point, he said, with everything going on, he's like, hey, you always just remain so like calm. And I was like, well, you don't know what's on the inside of me right now. But yeah. I was like, I want to make sure that when people look at me, they see Jesus, and I fail at that every single day. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I do try my best, and I'm glad. I was very, very thankful and appreciative that she said that, that she, that I feel like I was doing the right thing. Because I mean, she knew that I went to church. She knew I made church a priority and all those sorts of things. And I'm thankful that I was able to be a proper example in her eyes.
Right.
As what we got to be doing. But all that to say, we've got to be aware, because again, the people at our workplaces are watching us. They know that you're a pastor or a youth pastor or a children's ministry leader or a worship leader or whatever. They know what you are.
Or
they know,
Christian.
Exactly. They know the things you post on Facebook. They know the things you wear. They watch these things, and we've got to be aware. Like Keenan was just saying, we've got to be aware that when we are going anywhere, doing anything, that's the presence that we need to carry with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a big deal of how you treat people. That's a huge deal right there, man. It's just how you treat people. And we talked about even on Sunday, the parable of the Good Samaritan, and how a priest and a Levite saw this dude in the middle of the road that had been beaten, robbed, stripped naked, all that good stuff. And he's laying bloodied in the middle of the road, and they change up course, go to the other side of the road so they don't have to get mixed up in this problem. And if there's two people that should have been mixed up in the problem, it's the priest and the Levite, right? But then there's just this regular Joe, this Good Samaritan, comes through and doctors him up, gets him up on a donkey, rides him into town, pays for a hotel room for a couple of nights, and then says, yo, if there's any extra expenses, I'll take care of it. And then he asked the dude who's the scholar of the law, he's like, so which one of these is loving the neighbor? And he said, well, of course, the Good Samaritan. He's like, yes, now go and emulate that. Go and do that now. Like, go and be good to people. And so, like, we took that as our neighbors, anybody we come in contact with, that you got to be good to people. You got to treat people with respect, but you also have to be able to look past what people are doing or what they're saying, or whatever the case is, and understand that when Jesus died upon a cross, he died.
Mm.
He died not for the saved us. That's the crazy part. He died for the sinful us.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so it's like we weren't the clean version of ourselves yet, and that's who he died for. And the Bible says, "Yet while we were still sinners, he died for us.
Mhm.
He was crucified for our sins." And so I think that's like what we have to remember is that that none of us are going to have a great day every day. None of us are going to be, on our P's and Q's every single day. And we're going to meet people in bad seasons, in bad times, in bad moments. And just because they lash out or they whatever like type situation, it's like stay cool, stay the course. It's the fact of that. Gosh, I heard a quote the other day that really stuck with me. It said, how people treat you say a lot about them, but how you respond says a lot about you. And for me, it's like you step back and you think about stuff like that, and it's like when people are mean to you, that speaks volumes about them. When people are talking about you, that speaks volumes about them. But how you handle it, it shows your character. How you handle it, how you decide to go about it, really speaks volumes about you and about what you're doing. And again, I think that goes back, Nick, to that vulnerability and that accessibility a lot of times where we don't really get those confused, where we don't need to be, it's like I think we've got to a point of where we think our lives are so important that everybody wants to know everything about our life. Mm-hmm. So we just broadcast it. Like no matter what it is, we just broadcast it.
I think a lot of people just get in the mindset of like, it's kind of like that casting a wide net mentality. I go back to thinking, with Simon and them in the boat where they were casting that net, not catching anything, right? They're mm-hmm. casting a big net, casting, not catching anything. But when they listened to Jesus and cast the net in a specific place, mm-hmm. they caught a lot.
Right.
And I think a lot of Christians, and I myself at times have been guilty of, I'm going to throw this big wide net out there on Facebook. I'm going to tell everybody about this. I'm going to show everybody this. I'm going to tell, all this kind of stuff. And, it looks good.
Yeah.
It looks good. It looks like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But, I think there needs to be a level of intentionality there mm-hmm. where it's like you're not just casting this big wide net, because, right. but you are casting that net where it needs to be cast.
Yeah.
Like you may catch a stray fish here and there posted on Facebook, God loves you, Jesus loves you, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But when you reach out specifically to that person who's posting about going through a hard time, mm-hmm. then you're being very specific
right.
with your energy.
Well, that's what even I got to thinking about today. We're going to talk a lot about prayer tonight in service, but I got to thinking about today, and again, I know we've been doing this podcast for a long time, and so we've talked about a lot of stuff. And I know we start every sentence, it seems like, I know we've talked about this before, but asking for prayers, and then you see all of these people, commenting prayers, mm-hmm. or praying hands, praying for you, or praying. And it's like they're saying that, but are they doing that? You know what I mean? And somehow
I catch myself sometimes. I'll see a situation like I need to pray about that. I'm like, wait, Nick, stop. Pray about it.
Yeah, stop. And say, and it doesn't have to be elaborate, or in depth type situation. It's like, hey, Lord, I lift them up to you right now. You know their situation. You know what's going on. Work and move in, and give them peace, give them strength, give them, whatever. Amen. Let's get back to work. But I promise you, that's probably 95% more than what most people are doing, because most people, their prayers is the word prayers in the comment section, or the praying hands in the comment section, and so we have to just take a step back and be like, just because people like my post or heart my post, and just because people put in the comment section that they're praying, doesn't mean that they're praying. Mm-hmm. It does not mean that they're hitting their knees and they're interceding for me on my behalf with the Lord and saying, hey, look, Keenan needs your help right now. It doesn't mean that. It just means that they took 4 seconds to type prayers with an exclamation mark and hit the post button, and then feel like super Christian. You know what I mean? I done what I was supposed to do. Now, what you were supposed to do was pray, not write the word prayers and then post, and then let people, oh man, I tell you, super good guys always praying. It's just because I write it, just because somebody says it doesn't mean that they're doing it type situation. It's you're going to see the fruit of it at some point in time. And that's the reason why I think like COVID was a big deal. It's I know we're talking 5 years ago type situation now, but it's that a situation like that began to show fruit of what people were really practicing. You know what I mean? Like it began to show fruit of, can you stay consistent in the word? Can you stay consistent in your prayer life? Can you stay consistent in your attendance? Can you stay consistent in your faith? Can you stay consistent? Because, like, while the world is operating in your normalcy and in your comfortableness, yeah, you can stay consistent. But the moment that you can't be consistent, and now it's on you. It's not on the preacher anymore. It's not on the music anymore. It's not on the church anymore. It's on you to pray. It's on you to read. It's on you to open up your Bible. It's on you to seek God. It's on you to improve your relationship. And how many people did we see in this world? How many churches did we see in this world fall off because of the fruit being revealed that the consistency wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, we've talked a lot, about people who, they say they're all this, but they're actually not. I keep getting reminded of the episode of John Chris podcast. I think it was last week, but he talked to Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
And I listen to John Chris podcast every week. I don't really care. I mean, it's I like it. I enjoy listening to it. It makes me laugh. I thought I went to church.
Right.
Listening to this Tim Tebow podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that man it feels like almost every time I hear him talk, it's about something just goosebump giving. Right.
Right.
And it's just like, it's all about, how we, he was talking a lot about the difference between, caring for somebody and caring for a cause and like your calling.
Yeah.
And it's all about, hey, I can say I care about this, I care about this, I care about that, I care about this, but you can care about a lot of things, but it's still not what you're called to do. What you're called to do, you're going to put a lot more time, effort, and energy into than what you care about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something that
that's a big statement. I agree.
And I loved what he was talking about. And one of the biggest things, and I think this quote will stay with me for a long time, but I posted this on Facebook too because I felt like it's something a lot of people needed to see. But he was talking about, he's like, as a lot of Christians, we care about people until we find out what they've done. Right. We care about somebody, I care about this homeless person until I found out that they
raped somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they did something horrific. Then I don't want to help them anymore.
Right.
And he's like, but he's like, I don't, if they were worthy of the cross, they're worthy of me stopping to help them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 1,000%.
And it, of course, reminded me a lot of the Good Samaritan story that you talked about. And, I said it just really, really stuck with me because he's like, if as a Christian, it shouldn't matter what they've done because if they were worthy of Jesus going to the cross for them, they're worthy of me taking a moment of my time for them.
Right.
For giving a little bit of my money to help them, giving a little bit of my time to help that person.
Right.
And I think we as Christians, again, we saw through COVID, we saw how a lot of people were, they were just, what we call surface level Christians. They said they looked the part sometimes,
right. Yeah.
But their heart wasn't really in it. They weren't called there yet.
Right.
And, they weren't called to do this thing. They felt they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, but they weren't really in it.
Yeah.
And it's why we talk a lot about, what's going on in the world right now. You have, and I don't want to get too political, but you get, here in America right now, we have the government shutdown. We talked a little bit about this last week. The government shutdown, SNAP benefits were being cut, and basically just, a way of saying, like, we aren't going to provide food for people who can't work, type situation is the best way to say it. And, I've seen people who were professing Christians, posting on Facebook some very insensitive things is what I'll say, about like, just, you could work for this, you could do this, the people are really finding out, how they have to go to work now, they have to do that. And I'm like, just like I said, I can't word for word say what these posts said, but ultimately it just
came off as
very not that bad. I just don't have the memory for it.
I was like,
no. But
man, let it rip. I like it.
But I mean,
just
and again, not to get too deep into it, but I mean, it's just like I see a lot of that kind of stuff. You here in America, if you're from America, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the Republican Party has always been seen as the Christian party, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where the Christians come from because we're anti-abortion, we're anti-gay marriage, we're anti-this, anti-that. But we're also, our president is the one cutting SNAP benefits, and we're we don't want to fund healthcare for, and we've talked a little bit about this. We don't want to fund healthcare for people.
Right.
We don't, who aren't, legal citizens or this, that, and the other. And, there's a lot of things that Republicans fight against that, to me, Christians should stand up for.
Right.
And that right there is what took me kind of in a left field a little bit, not to, be too like on the nose with the political parts here, but, for me, it was kind of like, why am I voting for people who are against what God would be, or what Jesus died for?
Right.
Why am I voting for people who are voting against things that are what Jesus died for, what Jesus called us to do, Jesus called us to be? And again, I'm not perfect. I will never be perfect. I don't give all my money to the poor. I don't give all my time to the needy. I don't do that. And but at the same point in time, we are in a time in America, especially, where we have to ask ourselves, are we jumping on bandwagons just to jump on bandwagons, or are we really paying attention to what's going on? Are we really paying attention to the hurting people of the world? Are we really giving them our time?
No, absolutely. I mean,
are we just like we've got to get?
Yeah.
It's just like, I think it was, I started to notice a couple of different people speaking out against, like billionaires and stuff like that in the world. Like they're, and I, again, don't get me wrong, I believe in the system of, you go out here, you do work, you make money, you use that money to provide for yourself, your family, and all that kind of stuff. But these people were saying, why on earth are there billionaires?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a question that I have asked before, but it never really hit me until of course, all this stuff that's been going on with the SNAP benefits and, and healthcare and all this stuff that's been going on. But it's like, why on earth are there billionaires? Mm-hmm. We have billionaires. We have billionaires. We have people with $1 billion plus dollars.
Elon is said to become the first trillionaire.
Yeah, right. And I mean,
so,
I'm like,
there you go.
We have billionaires.
Yeah.
Why on earth? And I mean, and this is what, of course, these billionaires aren't Christians. I'm just going to be honest. Most of them aren't.
You going to judge like that?
I am going to judge like that.
Man. Okay.
But I'm like, and again, because I'm not saying they're not doing stuff, right? Okay. Like, they give $1 million donation to this and $1 million donation to that, and $1 million donation to this and $1 million donation to that, whatever, right? But I mean, we talk all the time about how, like, that's like a penny to them. Like,
right.
They're dropping nothing.
Yeah, it's like $100 to us.
Now, it is huge to the organization they're giving that money to.
Right.
But you have $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
You could literally feed everybody on SNAP benefits for the rest of the year and not even feel it.
Yeah.
You could pay for these military families to have a paycheck during the furlough.
Yeah.
And not even feel it.
Right.
You could pay for health care for, I always think about all the time these people who do doctors overseas, and they go over there and they have to pick and choose who they can help because they only have the funds to help certain people.
Yeah.
And you got people traveling on foot hundreds of miles to get this health care, and they get turned down.
Right.
And I'm like, you have the money to fix that.
Yeah.
And you don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at the end of the day, it's just kind of like we as a society have got to really just take a step back and ask ourselves. I mean, we as a Christian, group of Christian people have to sit down and ask ourselves, are we doing enough? And the answer is no. I mean, you look around you, God knows we're not doing enough.
No, I mean, we're never doing enough. But I also think too that, without just like going off on a crazy tangent,
like I just did.
Yeah, right. No. Without going off on a crazy tangent, I just think that we have been set up in a system where we were meant to fail at from the beginning. If you look from top to bottom, it's like Keenan Riley, Nick Sullivan, your normal, average, everyday Joes. Like the opportunity. Don't get me wrong, the opportunity is out there for us to be successful. Not saying it's not. But we're also two people sitting in front of mics in Hodgenville, Kentucky, doing a podcast that we believe in, that we are passionate about. And the timeline of maybe this falling in front of somebody where they might listen, somebody quote unquote famous, whatever, that might be like, man, I like that. Like, let me reach out to them. Let me see. Like, what is that timeline? What does it look like? What is that chance? What is that opportunity? Is it 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1,000,000? Is it whatever type situation? It's like, if you go back and look, it's you take you take Elon and his children. Those children are going to be set up and taken care of for the rest of their life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know that. So, these people that have this money and have this power type situation, it's like, you go back and look at the United States of America and look at how many people, 70%, close to 70%, I won't say 70 on the dot, but 70% or close to it, of the families in America live paycheck to paycheck every single week, paycheck to paycheck. And it says that the average family is one calamity away from losing everything. I mean, we're talking a hospital stay, we're talking a car wreck, we're talking 6 weeks or something off work, and it's like they lose everything. They lose everything. And yet we have people in place in positions of power, and whatever the case is, that's worth millions, billions, and trillions of dollars. And it's like, will me and Nick, or will somebody like that, like, will the normal, average, everyday Joe ever get their hands on something like that? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? Like, probably not. And so, it's like we're put into a system where we work, we pay bills, we get by, we go home, we do it again. We work, we pay bills, we get by, we go home, like type situation. And that's why, like, where if you hear a stat like 70% of Americans are struggling paycheck to paycheck, that's where we go back to like the Good Samaritan. And it's like, think about what the Good Samaritan done, like what he gave up. The Good Samaritan gave up bandages. The Good Samaritan gave up oil and wine to take care of the wounds. The Good Samaritan gave up his transportation and took the dude into town. The Good Samaritan gave up 2 days worth of wages to buy a room, and then he offered to cover any extra expenses. Now, we don't know if the Good Samaritan was rich. We don't know if the Good Samaritan had a lot of money. We don't know what kind of financial future he had. We just know that he sacrificed what he had in the moment to help somebody else. And, kind of like what we talked about to end it up on Sunday was the fact of that it's not always your money that people need. Sometimes it is literally a shoulder, it's a handshake, it's a conversation, it's an ear, it's a prayer. Sometimes it's a car ride. Sometimes it's a meal. Sometimes it's a warm place to stay the night. Sometimes it's washing clothes. Sometimes, like, acts of love and service and grace and mercy from Jesus is going to take on all different forms of affection. But I promise you that let me be careful when I say this. I want to say it right. But I promise you that Jesus is not going to put anybody or anything in front of you that he hasn't already equipped you with to handle. Let me say that. He's not going to put anything in front of you that he hasn't already equipped you with to handle. So if somebody comes at you, or if a situation comes at you and it's like, man, I don't know if I have this to give. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because if you didn't, Jesus wouldn't have allowed it to be able to come into your life. Because what does the scripture say? He's not going to put enough on you. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Like, go read it. Like whatever comes against you, he's going to help you get out of. He's going to help you get through, right? So if you go read that verse and you're like, yo, like, he's equipped me with this stuff. Like, so whenever somebody or a situation comes up or rises in your life, again, it's not always money. It's not always, like something even tangible. Sometimes it's prayer. Sometimes it's literally just, giving somebody that spiritual, that spiritual guidance or something where it's like, you know what, if you take the time, don't change up the course and go to the other side of the road because you don't want to get involved, but take the time to have that conversation, and then you find out what somebody truly needs. And it's like, oh man, before you get back up on your feet, we just need to get you to stop bleeding. Like, it was a cool process to watch that Good Samaritan, because before he got him up and got him on that donkey, he's like, let me treat your wounds really quick. And he's like, all right, after I got your wounds, like, now let's get you somewhere. All right, after I get you somewhere, I got to make sure that you can stay there long enough. So it's like a process sometimes. And I think we need to be more vigilant about that when we get involved with people.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not to say that the opportunity for excellence isn't out there for everybody.
Right.
I think everybody fails to live up to their potential, because of mistakes, because of wrong turns, because of laziness, period.
Right.
I think, there, not to say there's not people taking advantage of systems, like people giving out money, giving out food, giving out all that kind of stuff, because there people suck. There are people taking advantage of it.
Right.
But, again, it's all about, we've got, and this is kind of what Tim Tebow's biggest message was in that podcast, not to steal his thunder, because I can't, he's much better at this than I am, but, he just basically was saying, we've got to be better about caring for people.
Yeah.
He said, people are created. You have to remember, all the way back in Genesis, we are created in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
he said Imago Dei, I think, is the Latin for it, which is, image bearer of God, however you want to say that. And he's like, we are the most valuable thing on this planet, period.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Most valuable thing on this planet. He said, we have got to start treating each other like that.
Right.
And we got to start treating ourselves like that.
Yeah.
We have to start treating ourselves like we are the most valuable thing on this planet. We have to start treating other people like they're much more valuable than they are. That drug addict is valuable. That homeless person is valuable. That victim is valuable. That perpetrator is valuable. And, we've got to start looking at people as valuable. We have to start seeing past what someone's done, past what's the mistake someone's made, and start seeing their value the way God sees their value. I always love that song. Where it's like, God, give me your eyes so I can see. Help me to see people the way you see people. Help me to love people the way you love people. Help me to care for people the way you care for people. It's all about just increasing our capacity to care for other human beings, because God loves them, and it doesn't matter what they've done. It doesn't matter who they are. God loved them. God would want you to care for them. Right. God would want you to treat them like they deserve to be treated.
Yeah.
And so it's all about just trying to find a better capacity within yourself to care for people that you maybe have been told for a long time not to care about. Maybe your political party tells you not to care about these people. Maybe your country tells you not to care about these people. Maybe your parents tell you not to care about these people. Your friends tell you not to care about these people. But God tells you to care. God commands us to care for our neighbor. Care for those people that we come in contact with, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's through a live stream, whether it's through a job, or whatever else it may be. It's all about caring to the greatest capacity we have. And God will increase that capacity, but we have to exercise that. We have to stretch that muscle. We have to stretch that care muscle and start trying to care a little bit better than we did yesterday.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it, man. We appreciate you always tuning in, hitting that download button, and just giving us a chance and opportunity to tell you about just everything in life and a little bit of Jesus too. So tell your friends and family about People Suck, Love Them Anyways. And until we see you again, we love you so much. Be blessed.